Wonder, page 134 to 157. The call. So, in August, my parents got this call from Mr. Tushman, the middle school director, and my mom said, maybe he calls all the new students to welcome them. And my dad said, that's a lot of kids he'd be calling. So my mom called him back, and I could hear her talking to Mr. Tushman on the phone. This is exactly what she said. Oh, hi, Mr. Tushman. This is Amanda. Will, returning your call. Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you to say. He's looking forward to it. Yes. Yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, uh-huh. Well, that's so nice of you to say. Sure. Oh, wow. Oh. I see, of course. I'm sure he will. Let me write it down. Got it. I'll call you after I've had a chance to talk to him, okay? No, thank you for thinking of him. Bye-bye. And when she hung up, I was like, what's up? What did he say? And Mom said, well, it's actually very flattering, but kind of sad, too. See, there's a boy who's starting middle school this year, and he's never been in a real school environment before because he was homeschooled. So Mr. Tushman talked some of the lower school teachers to find out who they thought were some of the really, really great kids coming into 5th grade. And the teachers must have told him you were an especially nice kid, which I already knew, of course. And so Mr. Tushman is wondering if he could count on you to sort of shepherd this new boy around a bit. Like let him hang out with me? I said. Exactly, said Mom. He called it being a welcome buddy. But why me? I told you. Your teachers told Mr. Tushman that you are the kind of kid who's known for being a good egg. I mean, I'm so proud that they would think so highly of you. Why is it sad? What do you mean? You said it's flattering but kind of sad, too. Oh, Mom nodded. Well, apparently this boy has some sort of, I guess there's something wrong with his face or something like that. Not sure. But maybe he was in an accident. Mr. Tushman said he'd explain a bit more when you come to the school next week. School doesn't start till September. He wants you to meet this kid before school starts. Do I have to? Mom looked a bit surprised. Well, no, of course not, she said. But it would be a nice thing to do, Jack. If I don't have to do it, I said, I don't want to do it. Can you at least think about it? I'm thinking about it, and I don't want to do it. Well, I'm not going to force you, she said, but at least think about some more, okay? I'm not calling Mr. Tushman back until tomorrow, so just sit with it a bit. I mean, Jack, really, I don't think it's that much to ask that you spend a little extra time with some new kid. It's not just that he's a new kid, Mom, I answered. He's deformed. That's a terrible thing to say, Jack. He is, Mom. You don't even know who it is. Yeah, I do, I said. I knew the second she started talking about him that it was the kid named August. Carvel. I remember seeing him for the first time in front of the Carvel, Aimforest Avenue, when I was just about 5 or 6. Me and Veronica, my babysitter, were sitting on the bench outside the store, with Jamie, my baby brother, who was sitting in a stroller facing us. I guess I was busy eating my ice cream cone because I didn't even notice the people who sat down next to us. Then at one point I turned my head to suck the ice cream out of the bottom of my cone. And that's when I saw him. August. He was sitting right next to me. I knew it wasn't cool, but I kind of went, ugh, when I saw him because I honestly got scared. I thought he was wearing a zombie mask or something. It was the kind of you say when you're watching a scary movie and when the bad guy jumps out of the bushes. Anyway, I know it wasn't nice of me to do that. And though the kid didn't hear me, I know his sister did. Jack, we have to go, said Veronica. She had gotten up and was turning the stroller around because Jamie, who had obviously just noticed the kid, too, was about to say something embarrassing. So I jumped up kind of suddenly, like a bee had landed on me, and followed Veronica as she zoomed away. I could hear the kid's mom saying softly behind us, "Okay, guys, I think it's time to go." And I turned around to look at them one more time. The kid was licking his ice cream cone. The mom was picking up his scooter, and the sister was glaring at me like she was going to kill me. I looked quickly away. "Veronica, what's wrong with that kid?" I whispered. "Hush, boy," she said in a very angry voice. I loved Veronica, but when she got mad, she got mad. Meanwhile, Jamie was practically spilling out of his stroller trying to get another look as Veronica pushed him away. "But, Veronica," said Jamie. "You boys were very naughty," said Veronica, as soon as we were further down the block, staring at him like that. "I didn't mean to," I said. "Veronica," said Jamie. "Us leaving like that," Veronica was muttering. "Oh, Lord, that poor lady. I tell you, boys, every day we should thank the Lord for our blessings. You hear me?" "Veronica, what is it, Jamie? Is it Halloween?" "No, Jamie." "Then why was that boy wearing a mask?" Veronica didn't answer. Sometimes when she was mad about something, she would do that. "He wasn't wearing a mask," I explained to Jamie. "Hush, Jack," said Veronica. "Why are you so mad, Veronica?" I couldn't help but asking. I thought this would make her angrier, but actually she shook her head. "It was bad how we did that," she said, "just getting up like that, like we'd just seen the devil. I was scared for what Jamie was going to say, you know. I didn't want him to say anything that would hurt the little boy's feelings. But it was very bad of us leaving like that. The mama knew what was going on." "But we didn't mean it," I answered. "Jack, sometimes you don't have to mean to hurt someone to hurt someone. Do you understand?" That was the first time I ever saw August in the neighborhood, at least that I remember. But I've seen him around ever since then. A couple of times at the playground, a few times at the park. He used to wear an astronaut helmet sometimes, but I always knew it was him underneath the helmet. All the kids in the neighborhood knew it was him. Everyone has seen August at some point or another. We all know his name, though he doesn't know ours. And whenever I've seen him, I try to remember what Veronica said. But it's hard. It's hard not to sneak a second look. It's hard to act normal when you see him. Why I changed my mind. "Who else did Mr. Tushman call?" I asked Mom later that night. "Did he tell you?" "He mentioned Julian and Charlotte." "Julian," I said. "Ugh, why Julian?" "You used to be friends with Julian." "Mom, that was like in kindergarten. Julian's the biggest phony there is, and he's trying so hard to be popular all the time." "Well," said Mom, "at least Julian agreed to help the kid out. Got to give him credit for that." I didn't say anything because she was right. "What about Charlotte?" I asked. "Is she doing it too?" "Yes," Mom said. "Of course she is. Charlotte is such a goody two-shoes," I answered. "Boy, Jack," said Mom, "you seem to have a problem with everybody these days." "It's just," I started. "Mom, you have no idea what this kid looks like." "I can imagine." "No, you can't. You've never seen him." "I have." "It might not even be the one you're thinking it is." "Trust me, it is, and I'm telling you, it's bad. Really bad. He's deformed, Mom. His eyes are like down here." He pointed to my cheeks. "And he has no ears, and his mouth is like—" Jamie walked into the kitchen and got a juice box from the fridge. "Ask Jamie," I said. "Right, Jamie? Remember that kid we saw in the park after school last year, the kid named August? The one with the face?" "Oh, that kid?" said Jamie, his eyes opening wide. "He gave me a nightmare." "Remember, Mommy, that nightmare about the zombies from last year?" "I thought that was from watching a scary movie," she answered. "No," said Jamie, "it was from seeing that kid. When I saw him, I was like, 'Ah!' and I ran away." "Wait a minute," said Mom, getting serious. "Did you do that in front of him?" "I couldn't help it," said Jamie, kind of whining. "Of course you could help it," Mom scolded. "Guys, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed by what I'm hearing here." And she looked like she sounded. "I mean, honestly, he's just a little boy, just like you. Can you imagine how he felt to see you running away from him? Jamie, screaming?" "It wasn't a scream," argued Jamie. "It was like, 'Ah!' He put his hands on his cheeks and started running around the kitchen. "Come on, Jamie," said Mom angrily. "I honestly thought both my boys were more sympathetic than that." "What's sympathetic?" said Jamie, who's only gotten into the 2nd grade. "You know exactly what I mean by sympathetic, Jamie," said Mom. "It's just he's so ugly, Mom," said Jamie. "Hey," Mom yelled, "I don't like that word. Jamie, just get your juice box. I want to talk to Jack alone for a second." "Look, Jack," said Mom, as soon as he left. I knew she was about to give me the whole speech. "Okay, I'll do it," I said, which completely shocked her. "You will?" "Yes." "So I'll call Mr. Tushman?" "Yes." "Mom, yes." I said yes. Mom smiled. "I knew you'd rise to the occasion, kiddo. Good for you. I'm proud of you, Jackie." She messed up my hair. So here's why I changed my mind. It wasn't so I wouldn't have to hear my mom give a whole lecture. And it wasn't to protect this August kid from Julian, who I knew would be a jerk about the whole thing. It was because when I heard Jamie talking about how he had to run away from August, going, "Ah!" I suddenly felt really bad. The thing is, there are always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August doesn't stand a chance in middle school. 4 things. First of all, you do get used to his face. The first couple of times I was like, whoa, I'm never going to get used to this. And then after about a week, I was like, it's not so bad. Second of all, he's actually a really cool dude. I mean, he's pretty funny. Like the teacher will say something and August will whisper something funny to me that no one else hears and totally makes me crack up. He's also just overall a nice kid. Like he's easy to hang out with and talk to and stuff. Third of all, he's really smart. I thought he'd be behind everyone because he hadn't gone to school before. But in most things, he was ahead of me. I mean, maybe not as smart as Charlotte or Zima, but he's up there. And unlike Charlotte or Zima, he lets me cheat off of him, if I really need to, though I've only needed to a couple times. He also let me copy his homework once, though we both got in trouble for it after class. The 2 of you got the exact same answers wrong on yesterday's homework, Miss Rubin said, looking at both of us like she was waiting for an explanation. I didn't know what to say, because the explanation would have been, "Oh, that's because I copied August's homework." But August lied to protect me. He was like, "Oh, that's because we did our homework together last night," which wasn't true at all. "Well, doing homework together is a good thing," Miss Rubin answered, "but you're supposed to still do it separately, okay? You could work side by side if you want, but you can't actually do your homework together. Okay? Got it?" After we left the classroom, I said, "Dude, thanks for doing that." He was like, "No problem. That was cool." Fourthly, now that I know him, I would say I actually do want to be friends with August. At first, I admit it, I was only friendly to him because Mr. Tushman asked me to be especially nice and all that. But now I would choose to hang out with him. He laughs at all my jokes, and I kind of feel like I can tell August anything, like he's a good friend. Like if the guys in the 5th grade were lined up against a wall and I got to choose anyone I wanted to hang out with, I would choose August. Ex-friends. Bleeding scream. What the heck? Summer Dawson has always been a bit out there, but this was too much. All I did was ask her why August was acting like he was mad at me or something. I figured she would know. And all she said was, bleeding scream. I don't even know what that means. It's so weird because one day me and August were friends, and the next day, whoosh, he was hardly talking to me, and I haven't the slightest idea why. When I said to him, "Hey August, you mad at me or something?" he shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I know for the fact I didn't do anything to him to be mad about, I figured Summer could tell me what's up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream. Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. You know, I've got plenty of other friends in school, so if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then fine. That is okay by me. See if I care. I've started ignoring him like he's ignoring me now. This is actually kind of hard since we sit next to each other in practically every class. Other kids have noticed and started asking if me and August have had a fight. Nobody asks August what's going on. Hardly anyone ever talks to him, anyway. I mean, the only person he hangs out with other than me is Summer. Sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kinsley a little bit, and the two Maxes got him playing Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoeing, doesn't ever do more than nod hello when she's passing him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the Plague behind his back, because no one ever really told me about it directly. But my point is that it's not like he's got a whole lot of other friends he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the one who loses, not me. So this is how things are between us now. We only talk to each other about school stuff if we absolutely have to. Like, I'll say, "What did Reuben say the homework was?" And he'll answer, or he'll be like, "Can I use your pencil sharpener?" And I'll get out my sharpener out of the pencil case for him. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good is because I get to hang out a lot more with other kids now. Before, when I was hanging out with August all the time, kids weren't hanging out with me because they'd have to hang out with him. Or they would keep things from me, like the whole thing about the Plague. I think that I was the only one who wasn't in on it, except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. And the truth is, though nobody's that obvious about it, nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group. And he's just as far from the popular group as you can get. But now, I can hang out with anyone if I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why this is bad is because, well, I don't actually enjoy hanging out with the popular group that much. And B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this kind of is messed up. And it's all August's fault. Snow. The first snow of winter hit right before Thanksgiving break. School was closed, so we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was bummed out about the whole August thing, and I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up to snow is about my favorite thing in the world. I love that feeling when you first open your eyes in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual. Then it hits you. Everything is quiet. No cars honking, no buses going down the street. Then you run over to the window and outside everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars on the street, your window panes, and then when it happens on a school day, you'll find out your school's closed. Well, I don't care how old I get. I'm always going to think that it's the best feeling in the world. And I'm never going to be the one of those grown-ups that uses an umbrella when it's snowing. Ever. Dad's school was closed too, so he took me and Jamie sledding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck while sledding down that hill a few years ago, but I don't know if it's actually true or just some of those legends. On the way home, I spotted this banged-up wooden sled, kind of propped up against the old Indian Rock monument. Dad said to leave it. It was just garbage. But something told me it'd make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home, and I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I superglued the broken slats together and wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape around them for extra strength. Then I spray painted the whole thing white with paint and I had gotten for the alabaster sphinx that I was making for the Egyptian Museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lightning in gold letters in the middle of the piece of wood, and I made a little lightning bolt symbol over the letters. Wow, it looked pretty professional, I have to say. Dad was like, "Wow, Jackie, you're right about that sled." The next day, we went back to Skeleton Hill with Lightning. It was the fastest thing I'd ever ridden. So much faster than plastic sleds that we'd been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the snow had just become crunchier and wetter, good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on lightning all afternoon. We were in the park until our fingers were frozen and our lips had turned blue. Dad practically had to drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had started turning gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow to slush. When we got back to school on Monday, there was no snow left. It was rainy and yucky the first day back from vacation. A slushy day. That's how I was feeling inside, too. I nodded, "Hey," to August the first time I saw him. We were in front of the lockers, and he nodded hey back. I wanted to tell him about lightning, but I didn't. Fortune favors the bold. Mr. Brown's December precept was fortune favors the bold. We were all supposed to write paragraphs about some time in our lives when we did something very brave and how, because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot, to be truthful. I have to say that I think the bravest thing I ever did was become friends with August. But I couldn't write about that, of course, because I was afraid we'd have to read it out loud, or Mr. Brown would put them on the bulletin board, like he does sometimes. So instead, I wrote about this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from. Private school. My parents are not rich. I say this because sometimes people think that everyone goes to a private school is rich, but that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher and Mom's a social worker, which means they don't have those kinds of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or one of those doorman buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up. We rent from an old lady named Donna Petra, all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without an air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I can work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. It's so boring. Dude, but it's like Paris, I said, like an idiot. Believe me, it's so boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny, tiny village. I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh wow, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee. I laughed. Sometimes Julian could be very funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a big party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. What are you doing over break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled that's so amazing. I was about to tell him about lightning, but Miles started talking first. I got a new sled too, he said. My dad got it from Haymaker Schmelmer. It's state of the art. How could a sled be state of the art? Said Julian. It was like $800 or something. Whoa, we should all go sledding. I have to race down Skeleton Hill, I said. That hill's so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding? I said. Some kid broke his neck there. That's why they call it Skeleton Hill. Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. It's called Skeleton Hill because it was an ancient Indian burial ground. Duh, he said. Anyway, it should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross. Like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. I left my old sled there, said Miles. It was the crappiest piece of junk, and someone took it too. Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding, laughed Julian. Where'd you leave it? I said. By the big rock at the bottom of the hill, and I went back the next day and it was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad could drive us all up to this golf course in Winchester that makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where are you going? I had started to walk away. I got to get a book from my locker, I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the hobo who'd taken the sled. in science. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say I do. Some parts of school, like PE and computer class, and lunch and recess. But all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all stuff we probably never need to know, like how to figure out the surface of a cube, or what the difference is between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I never have ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in my entire life. I hate science the most of all my classes. We get so much work, it's not even funny. And the teacher, Miss Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our headings on the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date at the top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August had the neatest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down and perfect with really small, round, loopy letters. But now we're ex-friends. It's bad because I can't ask him to let me copy his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today trying to take notes about what Miss Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about the 5th grade science fair, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished freaking Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing? And then my head was going, oh no, like that kid in Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures melting ghost faces I've seen somewhere where the mouths are open wide and they were screaming. And then all of a sudden this picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew what Summer meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me in this flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up in a bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, it was August. All of this hit me in my science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man, I've been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. It was so mean, I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I had said, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everybody thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time, and I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I was just going along. I was stupid. I'm stupid. Oh, God. He was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would have never said that in front of Boba Fett. But that was him, the bleeding scream, sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood, the mouth open wide, like the ghoul was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. Partners. I didn't hear a word of what Miss Rubin was saying after that. Blah, blah, blah. Science fair project. Blah, blah, blah. Partners. Blah, blah, blah. It was like the way grown-ups talk in Charlie Brown movies. Like someone talking underwater. Mwah, 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 mwah. Then all of a sudden, Miss Rubin started pointing to kids around the class. Reed and Tristan, Maya and Max, Charlotte and Zima, August and Jack. She pointed to us when she said this. Miles and Amos, Julian and Henry, Savannah and... I didn't hear the rest. Huh? I said. The bell rang. So don't forget to get together with your partners to choose a project from the list, guys, said Miss Rubin as everyone started taking off. I looked up at August, but he'd already put his backpack on and was practically out the door. I must have had a stupid look on my face because Julian came over and said, "Looks like you and your best bud are partners." He was smirking when he said this. I hated him so much right then. "Hello, Earth to Jack Will," he said. I didn't even answer him. "Shut up, Julian." I was putting my loose leaf binder away in my backpack and just wanted him away from me. "You must be so bummed you got stuck with him," he said. "You should tell Miss Rubin you want to switch partners. I bet she'd let you." No, she wouldn't, I said. Ask her. No, I don't want to. Miss Rubin, Julia said, turning around, raising his hand at the same time. Miss Rubin was erasing the chalkboard at the front of the room. She turned around when she heard her name. No, Julian, I whispered, screamed. What is it, boys? She said impatiently. Could we switch partners if we wanted to? Said Julian, looking very innocent. Me and Jack had this science fair project idea we wanted to work on together. Well, I guess we could arrange that, she started to say. No, it's okay, Miss Rubin, I said quickly, heading out the door. Bye. Julian ran after me. Why'd you do that? He said, catching up with me on the stairs. We could have been partners. You don't have to be friends with that freak if you don't want to. And that's when I punched him, right in the mouth. Detention. Some things you just can't explain. You don't even try. You don't know where to start. All your sentences would jumble up like a giant knot if you opened your mouth. And words you used would come out wrong. Jack, this is very serious, Mr. Tushman was saying. I was in his office, sitting on a chair across from his desk and looking at this picture of a pumpkin on the wall behind him. Kids get expelled for this kind of thing, Jack. I know you're a good kid, and I don't want that to happen, but you have to explain yourself. This is not like you, Jack, said Mom. She had just come from work as soon as they had called her. I could tell she was going back and forth between being really mad and really surprised. I thought you and Julian were friends, said Mr. Tushman. We're not friends, I said. My arms were crossed in front of me. But to punch someone in the mouth, Jack, said Mom, raising her voice. I mean, what were you thinking? She just looked at Mr. Tushman. Honestly, he's never hit anyone before. He's just not like that. Julian's mouth was bleeding, Jack, said Mr. Tushman. You knocked out a tooth. Did you know that? It's just a baby tooth, I said. Jack, said Mom, shaking her head. That's what Nurse Molly said. You're missing the point, Mom yelled. I just want to know why, said Mr. Tushman, raising his shoulders. It'll just make everything worse, I sighed. Just tell me, Jack. I shrugged, but I didn't say anything. I just couldn't. If I told him that Julian had called August a freak, then he'd go talk to Julian about it, and then Julian would tell how I had badmouthed August, too, and everybody would find out about it. Jack, said Mom. I started to cry. I'm sorry. Mr. Tushman raised his eyebrows and nodded, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he just kind of blew into his hands like you do when your hands are cold. Jack, he said, I don't really know what to say here. I mean, you punched a kid. We have rules about that kind of thing, you know. Automatic expulsion, and you're not even going to try to explain yourself. I was crying a lot by now, and the second Mom put her arms around me, I started to bawl. Let's, said Mr. Tushman, taking his glasses off to clean them. Let's do this, Jack. We're out for winter break as of next week anyway. How about you stay home for the rest of this week, and then after winter break you'll come back and everything will be fresh and brand new. Clean slate, so to speak. Am I being suspended? I sniffed. Well, he said, shrugging. Technically, yes, but it's only for a couple days, and I'll tell you what. While you're at home, you take time to think about what's happened, and if you want to write me a letter explaining what happened, and a letter to Julian apologizing, then we won't even put this in your permanent record, okay? You go home and talk about it with your mom and dad, and maybe in the morning you'll figure it all out a bit more. That sounds like a good plan, Mr. Tushman, said Mom, nodding. Thank you. Everything's going to be okay, said Mr. Tushman, walking over to the door, which was closed. I know you're a nice kid, Jack, and I know that sometimes even nice kids do dumb things, right? He opened the door. Thank you for being so understanding, said Mom, shaking his hand at the door. No problem. He leaned over and told her something quietly that I couldn't hear. I know. Thank you, said Mom, nodding. So, kiddo, he said to me, putting his hands on my shoulders, think about what you've done, okay? And have a great holiday. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. I wiped my nose with my sleeve and started walking out the door. Say thank you to Mr. Tushman, said Mom, tapping my shoulder. I stopped and turned around, but I couldn't look at him. Thank you, Mr. Tushman, I said. Bye, Jack, he answered. Then I walked out the door.